climate change, still a very hot topic, right? Well, when you have an Oscar award-winning Best Actor use his acceptance speech to stump for climate change, as Leonardo DiCaprio did last Sunday, well, that's when you know it's an issue many folks still feel needs to be addressed here in Massachusetts. And here we are still spending over $20 billion a year to import fossil fuels, which are still the leading cause of climate change here at home. Now, the Massachusetts Campaign for a Clean Energy Future is a coalition of environmental and business groups who have come together to support legislation through two current state proposals that could not only put people to work, but also benefit low and moderate income households. To tell us more, we've invited members of this coalition. They are Marc Breslow. He is the co-director of Climate Exchange and lead author of the state government's Clean Energy and Climate Plan for 2020. And he co-authored the state's study on implementing carbon pricing in Massachusetts. We have Emily Kirkland. She is the director of Organization for 350 Massachusetts, which is a group building a powerful grassroots movement to push for climate action. And Cindy Luppi. She is the New England director for Clean Water Action and coordinates the Massachusetts Campaign for Clean Energy Future. And last but not least, my man Quinton Zondervan. He is the president of the Climate Action Business Association. They are an organization of local businesses taking action on climate change. Well, welcome to Urban Update.
Thanks for having us.
Quick thing, what'd you think of Leonardo DiCaprio? Were you guys happy?
Oh, it's fantastic. Awesome. I knew there was a reason I had such a crush on him in middle school, and turns out this was why.
You and my daughter. Yes, I thought of you. I'm watching it, and I said, I know a week from tonight I'm going to have the folks that I need to have on the show. All right, so let's, Marc, I'm going to start with you on a serious note. Why is there such a need to get some of this stuff done?
Well, because climate change is increasingly affecting the climate, obviously, around the world and here in Massachusetts. The temperature is gradually going up every year, and predictions are that unless we take very substantial action, it's going to go up by a number of degrees as the decades go on. And that means we're going to have more intense storms. We've already seen some of that. We're going to have periods of drought. We're going to have rising sea levels, which the city of Boston is already having to take extensive measures to start preparing for.
Wow. Okay, so now let's get to these. There are two pieces of legislation that you guys would like folks to know more about. And so how does this benefit us all?
Well, so this legislation would do what we're calling put a price on carbon. Which means that all fossil fuels, the things that we use, coal, natural gas, oil, when burned, they emit carbon dioxide, and that's what causes global warming or climate change. By putting a price on the damage caused by those emissions, you're raising the price of those fuels and moving society away from them and toward alternatives for both supplying energy, such as solar power and wind power, and also toward energy efficiency.
I'm going to switch gears here. I'm going to talk to Quinton for a second because you represent a lot of businesses. How does this impact businesses, and why are so many businesses supporting this?
Right. So businesses support this because it's an effective market-based mechanism to address climate change, and it creates the right incentives for businesses to become more energy efficient.
Okay. And Cindy, I know that you've told me that this is important for Massachusetts to lead the way. What do you mean by lead the way?
Well, Massachusetts is actually already a leader on climate change. We passed a precedent-setting policy in 2008 that really lays a lot of the groundwork for what we're talking about now. It's the Global Warming Solutions Act, and it mandates that the state reduce carbon pollution. We've done some good work, but there's made some good headway, but there's still more that we need to accomplish if we're going to comply with that law. So carbon pricing would give us another tool in the toolbox to see these pollution reductions, meet our mandates, and then, as with same-sex marriage, as with healthcare reform, if we work on carbon pricing at the state level, other states around the country are going to follow that lead. Mm-hmm. So it actually has both local and national import.
Mm-hmm. Emily, as a millennial, what's your perspective on this carbon pricing? Is it an effective tool for climate change, and why are you supporting it so much?
Yeah, so as a young person, I know that climate change, everything from storms to droughts, is going to affect me and my generation for the rest of our lives. So it's the issue that I'm most passionate about. And I know that carbon pricing is both one of the boldest and the most effective things that we can do here in Massachusetts to confront the problem.
And you're trying to get some support on a grassroots level, right? So tell me a little bit about those efforts that your organization is kind of working on.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've seen tremendous energy around this proposal all over the state. People have been hosting parties in their homes to talk to their friends and their neighbors about it. They've been organizing forums, in a local school or a local church, reaching out to their legislators. There was a hearing about it at the State House that was packed just a couple months ago. And we've seen tremendous support from everyone from faith leaders to a couple high school students who gave a great, really funny presentation at the State House.
Marc, I want to know more about, you said it's going to create jobs, but it's also going to help low and middle income folks. How does that translate?
Sure. So the way the bill, there are two bills. The way one bill, Senate 1747, is specifically designed is that all the funds taken in from the fees on carbon would be returned to the public. And the way it would be returned to households is through an equal rebate for every resident of Massachusetts. So if you've got a household of 3 people, you get 3 of these rebates. And what that means is that since lower income people generally use less energy than higher income people, but will get the same rebates, it means that in general, lower income people will get more back in rebates than they are paying in the fees. And that's why the study estimates that they'll come out ahead. And in fact, the statistics that we've been able to analyze show that at least about the lower 60% of the Massachusetts households by income will come out ahead from this.
Cindy, so, you're still hearing folks who, believe it or not, still don't believe this is a reality. Have we here in Massachusetts kind of, gone beyond that, and you feel that legislators know, or does the average person watching today need to get on the phone and call their legislators and say, can you move this along because I feel very strongly about it?
I think there's a lot of concern. We work with people, as Emily said, from across the state, moms, members of the faith community, business leaders, civic leaders, investors, who are really worried about what this means for Massachusetts, but there isn't enough concrete progress going on to actually deliver the pollution reductions we need to have a healthier future. So, I would absolutely encourage people to get in touch with their legislators. And, in general, we just think this is a really exciting time for this issue. This was one of the top line policies that really popped from the Paris UN climate conference. And, countries around the world are looking at this. British Columbia is having a really big, successful effort to reduce pollution there. There are great models out there that we really hope Massachusetts can move forward here locally.
Quinton, a lot of times folks think that businesses, kind of will resist this, but you're telling me that a lot of the folks that you're working with and you represent are really active on this front. Were you surprised to see how many businesses are really embracing this?
I'm not surprised. I was actually in Paris in December as part of the negotiations, and we saw that a lot of businesses actually came to Paris to voice their support for serious climate action, and a carbon price is really a favored approach for businesses. So it also benefits the business because businesses are trying to be more energy efficient. It also saves them money on the bottom line, and because the rebate comes back to the business, they can use that money to invest in these energy-saving measures.
Emily, it seems like your generation is this is a big deal for your peers and your your entire generation.
Yeah, absolutely. I've just seen so many friends my age become incredibly passionate about this issue. Whether that's getting active on their college campus and calling for divestment from fossil fuels, or marching through the streets, or lobbying in the State House for carbon pricing. Our generation knows how much this is going to affect us, and we're looking to our leaders to take charge and act as boldly as they can.
What do you feel when you see young people leading this, Marc? Because I know you've been fighting the fight, and it may be a little bit more difficult to convince some of the more traditional folks about climate change.
I think it's terrific. It gives me a lot of hope for the future.
Oh, good, good. All right, so what do you want from folks watching TV about this proposal, real quickly? What should they do?
Quickly, get in touch with the governor, get in touch with your legislators, urge support.
Well, they all watch the show, so you tell them, look into that kid, say Charlie Baker and everybody else, because I know why he's watching.
Charlie Baker, make Massachusetts a leader on climate change and really move forward with carbon pricing at the state level.
Very good. Good job. Very good. All right, well, thank you for coming by, and we'll keep tabs on you. Maybe we'll have you guys back on again. Maybe we'll have 4 of you on again.
Thanks so much.
All right, loved it. All right, when we come back, the Celtics with a Latino flavor this Wednesday night at TD Garden. Well, all the details coming up right here on Urban Update.